All right, so for today, getting a belt and a block, and then making your way to your mat. And we will start lying down, having your belt nearby. And just take a few moments arriving here on the floor. Inhaling and exhaling. And then let's interlock the fingers, turn the palms up to the ceiling, and we'll slide the legs out to straight if they're not already. And bring the arms up overhead with the interlocked fingers, stretching long and flat. And then release the hands. And let's get our belt, and we will bend that right leg in, pulling the right thigh into the chest, reaching long through the left leg. Inhale and exhale, pouring down through that left heel, long through the top of the head. And then belt around the right foot, extending that right leg up. Breathing up through the right leg. Being patient with those hamstrings. We're just starting out here. And then belt into the right hand, bringing that leg out to the diagonal side, the open side. Inhaling into the lower belly, exhale, pouring out through the heels, out through the top of the head. Letting that breath ease you a little bit deeper into the stretch, a little bit deeper into your body. And bringing the leg back up to the center. And we'll hold it here in Supta Padangusthasana number 1 for a few breaths again. Inhale and exhale. Maybe there's a little more space and extend in the backs of the legs now. And then we'll take the leg across to the left. So if you feel ready for taking it in the belt, go ahead. Otherwise, we'll set the belt down, bend the right leg, foot on the floor, right arm out to the side, just pulling that right knee across. Gentle pulling of the belly back into the spine as we spiral up through that spine and out the right fingertips. And just coming back to the center, sliding that right leg out to straight, maybe taking a stretch overhead with the arms for a moment. And we will bend that left leg in, reaching long through the right heel along the floor, long through the top of the head. And belt around the left foot, extending that left leg up. Inhale and exhale, opening up the backs of the legs. Even as we're using that breath to deepen into the stretch, we're using that breath to bring our focus a little more inside, to let go of the rest of the world and just be here now. And then belt into the left hand, bringing that leg out to the diagonal side. Keep reaching down through that right leg. And a few more breaths here. And bringing that leg back up to the center, and we'll pause here, standing on the ceiling, standing on the opposite wall. And then we'll bring the left leg across, so maybe you feel ready to do it with the belt, or else just bending that left leg, left arm out to the side, pulling the left knee across. And then even as that left outer hip and knee reach right, pulling the abdominal muscles a little back toward the left and spiraling up through the top of the head and out the left fingertips. And coming back to the center, straightening out that left leg. And breathing those arms up, big stretch up overhead. And we will make our way up to sitting. And sitting in Sukhasana with the crossed legs. Using the arms alongside, lengthening up, getting space between the vertebrae, space in the hip sockets. And as usual, a little shifting or swinging. And slowly release with the arms, letting the hands rest on the knees. Pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders, long through the top of the head. Inhaling and exhaling. Here we are in this familiar shape, and yet a little different. Or maybe a lot different because we did the belts on the floor first. And then let's reach out wide through those collarbones, through the fingertips. Inhale and exhale, breathing the arms up. Inhale and exhale, breathing them back down. Let's do that again. And lengthen to lift. And lengthen as the arms come down. And once more, bringing the arms up overhead. And let's side bend over to the left, right arm up over the ear. And then extending that right arm on the diagonal to the right, so sort of flatten out their arm right out from the shoulder. Press the back of the right arm away, and we'll take that right arm around into a half binding. So we have a half binding side bend, turning that right shoulder up to the ceiling. And coming back up, let's change the cross of the legs. And we'll do that on the left. Breathing those arms up overhead, two long parallel sides, up and over to the right, left arm over the ear. We still have two long parallel sides here in our side bend. And then reaching back with the left arm so it's on the diagonal to the left. Arm is more or less straight out from the shoulder joint. Pressing the back of that left arm away, taking the left arm around into the half binding. Sliding the back of the left hand along the right outer hip. Rolling that left shoulder open, turning up toward the ceiling. And coming up, and then we'll just pour forward. Breathing into the back of the body. And coming up, unfurling that spine vertebrae by vertebrae. Back up on top of the sitting bones, taking a breath, arriving here. And let's come up and downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Walking the dog or anything else you want to do. And then finding your best downward facing dog of this moment. Inhaling up to the sitting bones, exhale, pouring down the backs of the legs. And let's look between the hands to jump or step forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Lengthen out a little more, and then folding over. Reaching down through the feet into the floor. A little like when we were extending the foot into the belt. Pulling those quadriceps up, pulling the sitting bones up. And coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Pulling the sitting bones down now as we open the front of the body. And a big press down, long through the top of the head, circling the shoulders, up the front, down the back. Inhale and exhale. And go in the other direction. One more front to the back, interlocking those fingers, lengthening up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. Drawing those upper arms toward each other, and then coming forward, pressing out through the hands. And release the hands. Concave back, folding over. Let's step back with the left leg into the long, low lunge. And then bringing that left knee down. And pressing forward into the front of the left hip. Hold here a moment with the fingertips still on the floor, lengthening the front of the body. And then we'll bring those arms up into Anjayasana. And bringing them down, straighten up the left leg, and let's straighten up our right leg. Pulling that right kneecap up, pressing the ball of the right foot into the floor. And then lunging forward to step back to the plank. Let's hold the plank here a few breaths, pressing long and flat against the ceiling. And then any version of the vinyasa you like. I'm doing kneeling, chaturanga, into upward facing dog, and then downward facing dog. And let's lift our right leg up, reaching long through the heel. Dog at the high fire hydrant, bending the right knee. And through to the lunge. Let's ground our left heel down to come up into the warrior number one. Inhaling up the front and exhale, pouring down the back. And then straightening up that right leg. Feel like you're squeezing both legs in toward the center line. Long lift to the top of the head. Bringing those arms down. Let's interlock the fingers behind. And lengthening up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. We're going to come forward. So release those hands as soon as you need to. Reaching forward, but use them as a nice counterbalance here. Pressing the arms back as you reach forward with that torso coming over the leg. Maybe you still have those hands interlocked. And then we'll all take the hands down to the floor. And then lengthen out through the top of the head, making yourself as long and flat as you can onto the ceiling. If you need to, adjusting the feet, maybe bringing them a little closer together. And then we will twist to the right, Parivrtta Trikonasana. And then putting the right hand on the sacrum, bending the elbow, reaching up with the elbow. And then maybe sliding the back of that right hand around into the half binding. Keep rolling that right front of the shoulder up and over. And then with great relief, letting all of that go, bending that right knee. Let's come all the way down to Anjayasana, bringing the left knee down, coming up. And bringing those arms down, up to the lunge, stepping forward. Into the concave back, halfway up, folding over. Deep breath. And coming up into the front body yawn. Pressing the arms down. And just one circle with the shoulders. Let's interlock those fingers once again. And lengthen up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. And coming over. Release the hands. Concave back. Folding over, we will step back with the right leg. And lengthening that lunge out. And then let's bring the right knee down. And just take a few moments here with the fingertips still on the floor, pressing into the front of the right hip. Of course, it's always an option to stay here when we're doing Anjayasana. And then bringing the arms up. Taking a few breaths here. And bringing those arms down and stepping back to the plank. Holding that plank long and flat against the ceiling. And through the vinyasa, any version. And then we'll all be in downward facing dog. And let's lift the left leg up, reaching long through the heel. And bending the knee dog at the high fire height. Through to the lunge. And grounding that right heel down to come up in the warrior number 1. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And straightening up that left leg. Feel like you're pulling the legs into the center and toward each other and out the fingertips. And let's bring those arms down. Interlocking the hands behind. And lift the chest to lift the chin. So remember, letting go of those hands to land there as soon as you need to, but keeping them interlocked as long as you can as we come forward. Using those arms to help you, counterbalancing, pulling back. And then we'll all release our hands into the floor. Take a few moments assessing things, maybe adjusting the distance between the legs. And then coming up long and flat as best you can. And we will twist to the left, the rotated triangle, or Vritta Trikonasana. And then let's take the left hand and put that on the sacrum, elbow pulling up and to the right. And then next, sliding the back of that left hand around the right hip into the half binding. Keep rolling and opening that left shoulder. And then letting that go. And coming down to Anjayasana, the kneeling lunge. And bringing those arms down, stepping forward. Into the concave, back halfway up. Folding over. And then let's walk those feet out to the edges of the mat with a little outer rotation, feet about 45 degrees or so. Bending the knees, coming down into wide malasana. So if you can't come all down so low, you can always keep the hands on the floor, kind of do a slightly narrow elephant rider with the elbows on the knees if you like. And then pressing the hands into the floor, lifting those hips up, pouring forward. Keeping the outer rotation in the legs. A little feeling like especially the outer heels are dragging in toward each other. And then we'll bend those legs again, coming all the way down to the floor, sliding them out into Konasana, the angle pose. Reaching long through the heels. And we'll come forward. Inhaling into the center, exhale, come in. And coming up. I'm just going to angle a little here. So we're going to do the same sort of thing we did with the crossed legs. So I'm not being the mirror. And we are going to take our right arm up and over to the left side, bending left. Two long parallel sides. And then reaching back with that right arm to the right, so that right arm's on the diagonal straight out from the shoulder. Pressing the back of the right arm away and into the half binding along that left outer. Rolling that right shoulder out. And coming up. Take a breath. Other side. Left arm comes up and over to the right. Breathing deeply. And then reaching back with that left arm so it's on the diagonal, straight out from the shoulder, pressing the back of the left arm away, and it wraps around into the half binding, rolling that left shoulder out. And coming up. Bring those legs in. And let's come up in the Navasana, the boat pose, any version. So this could be a version right here. You can use the hands on the floor under the thighs. And so bringing those shins up, maybe the legs extend. And lifting through the top of the head. So the important thing we're going through is the line from the knees to the top of the head, trying to make that about a right angle. So if you bend the knees there, you still have this line. And then folding the legs down, coming back up onto our feet. And pressing the feet into the floor, expanding into the forward bend. Deep breath. Coming up to standing, really pulling those sitting bones down, front body yawn. We're doing a lot of folding forward here. Let's take a circle all the way around with the arms. And namaste in front. And then let's come over. Big inhale up. And exhale, diving over. Concave back, folding over. This time we'll jump or step back to downward facing dog, vinyasa or not. And then lifting our right leg up, reaching long through the heel. And through to the lunge, warrior number 2. Turning the left foot down to 90 degrees and coming up. Pulling wide. And then here in our warrior 2, let's interlock the fingers behind, rolling those shoulders out. And then we will bend the elbows and take the hands into the right hip. Maybe encourage that sitting bone down a little bit more. And shoulders rolling down and back, and we'll release the right hand and into the dancing warrior with the half binding on the left. And triangle trikonasana, extracting your left arm, reaching it up to the ceiling, everything radiating out wide and flat. And then bending the right knee, coming back up to the warrior number 2. And then we'll come back into the triangle or the half moon Ardha Chandrasana. So either just tilting into the triangle or shifting the weight up over that right leg. Pressing the right foot into the floor to come up. And then if you're looking down, whoops, at the floor for balance, that was not a good example of looking at the floor for balance. And see if you can turn your heads to the side. So you're looking forward relative to your body, straight to the side. And then bending that right leg, floating the left foot down, and we'll just turn to the wide leg forward bend. Turning the feet to parallel. Couple more breaths here. And then turning back to that right lunge. Stepping back, vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. And we will do all of that around on the left side. Let's lift that left leg and through to the lunge. Coming up in the warrior number 2, the lateral lunge. Taking a few breaths, arriving here. And then let's interlock the fingers behind here in our warrior 2, rolling the shoulders out and bringing the hands to the left hip. Shoulders keep rolling down and back. And then releasing our left hand, coming up in the dancing warrior with the half binding on the right. Using that right hand to encourage that left sitting bone to anchor down. And then into the triangle, Trikonasana. Right arm reaches up to the ceiling. And breathing here. And then back to the warrior 2, pulling from that left inner knee out the fingertips. And into the triangle once again, or maybe the half moon. So we can look at the floor as we come up in that half moon. It helps steady the balance. Then you have to think a little bit more about opening that right side up, so it's not just the one-armed warrior 3. And then if you can, rotating the head a quarter turn so that you're looking what would be straightforward from your body. And then bending the left knee, floating that right foot down. And then just coming down, pivoting the feet, wide leg forward bend. Prasarita Padottanasana. And let's walk our hands toward the right leg, the back of the mat. Maybe you can get one or both hands onto the right leg. But finding how this is going to work for you and be useful for you and your body. And then back to the center, maybe a little bend in the knees and extend again, and walking the hands over to the left. Finding a good place for yourself. And coming back to the center, little bend and extending the legs. And turning back to the left lunge, the front of the mat where we started. Stepping back to the plank. And let's hold that plank. And let's keep holding that plank. And we're still holding the plank. If you want to do something, you could always lift that right leg, one-legged plank. And switching legs if you're one-leggeding. And we're still holding that plank, at least in theory. Could be kneeling plank, could be child's pose plank by now. All right, let's see if we can be here a few more breaths. Engage that core just a little more. Reach through the legs just a little more. Widen across the upper back and collarbones. And bringing those knees down, sitting back into child's pose. And coming up, and we will come down to the floor. And let's get our block, and we'll do the bridge pose on the block. Lifting up, block under the sacrum, sliding those legs out to straight. Inhaling into the lower belly, exhale, pouring down the fronts of the legs. Little drawing up with the abdominal muscles, stretching yourself over the block, gently cooperating with the block. And then bend the knees, lifting up off the block, rolling down, landing on the floor. And let's come up in the bridge pose, pressing those feet into the floor, tucking the tailbone up, rolling up. And you can use the interlocked fingers underneath if you like, and or bending the arms, getting the fist and the hands there onto the sacrum to help you lift a little more. Kind of like those hands are reminding you of the block lift. And rolling down. Remember to put the block underneath again, but with the bent knees. So you might be able to fit the higher height of the block under there, or maybe not. If you have two blocks, you might be able to make a more nuanced size there. All right, so, and then we've got our block somewhere for a little assistance, and then take a little lift, lightening up on the block. So if you have the block really high here, you might barely lift off the block, or you might get an inch or two lift. Just feeling that. And then coming back onto that support of the block. So we're going to do one-legged bridge pose with the block helping. So now we're resting on the block as we press the feet into the floor. Press that left foot into the floor even more as we hinge our right leg up. Pausing there, right knee pulling towards your head, left knee reaching away. Test that lightening up or lifting off the block here. And then setting yourself back on the block as we extend that leg up to the ceiling. Really pressing the left foot into the floor, pressing that right foot up. And then lifting or lightening up on the block. Coming back onto the block, folding that right leg down, getting things regrouped and reorganized as needed. Taking a deep breath in case breath got lost along the way there. All right, so here we are nice and square on the block in our bent leg bridge pose. And we'll hinge the left leg up. Pressing that right foot into the floor, pulling the left knee away. And then lighten up the block here. And coming back onto your block to extend the left leg up. Pressing the right foot into the floor, left leg to the ceiling. And then lighten or lift on that block, from that block. Oh, and try to breathe. And coming back onto the block, bringing the left leg down. Get yourself recentered, and let's slide the legs out to straight. Back to that supported bridge pose. Letting that breath smooth out. And then we'll bend the knees, lifting up off that block, rolling down. Ah, landing gratefully into the floor. And let's do a short figure four, crossing the right leg over, reaching through the triangle, pulling that in. And switching sides, crossing the left leg over, pulling that in. And setting that down. And we will head for Shavasana. So maybe to do a little counter pose for our neck from all that bridging, doing your Shavasana on the block, with the block under the shoulders. So you can lengthen out that neck and give it a little bit of a reverse bend. And then getting your body settled in. And then letting go. Inhale and exhale, melting into the floor. And then breathing yourself back into your body, into the room. Moving the fingers and toes, maybe circling the wrists and ankles. Stretching the arms up overhead, bending the knees, and then as gently as possible from wherever you are, making your way up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with that long and spacious spine. Taking a few more moments, sitting quietly inside yourself. And namaste. Thank you for coming.